Welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Podcast, hosted by CRM technology and sales process expert Christopher Smith, talking with sales leaders that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Listen to find out how the best of the best achieve success with their team and CRM technology. And remember, unless you are the lead dog, the view never changes.
Welcome to Sales Lead Dog. My guest on the show today is Andy Drummond. Andy is the founder of ShireGrowth Partners. Andy, welcome to Sales Lead Dog.
Chris, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and you inviting me to join you for a little while today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on here because of, I think, of the unique perspective you have that you've developed of your career, just with what you're doing with ShireGrowth Partners. Tell me a little bit about ShireGrowth Partners, what you guys do.
So I think they call it these days a solopreneur, which
Yeah.
sounds much better than it's me and a shingle. I founded ShireGrowth Partners a little over a year ago, Chris,
Yeah.
and the thought behind it was really the culmination of the things I've done over a 30 plus year career, right? And the thing I realized is lots of companies are trying to grow. Lots of companies have great strategies. Lots of companies trip up and fall when it comes to execution for a whole variety of reasons. Shy Growth Partners' role, my role, is to help companies solve that problem, particularly industrials, particularly PE-backed. So the real focus for the firm, for me, are lower mid-market and lower mid-market industrial companies, primarily those backed by PE firms.
Yep.
But everyone's trying to figure out how to either grow more or grow faster or grow in a different spot. And that's what I'm here to help with.
And that's why I wanted you on the show,
Yeah.
because this is a topic that I think resonates with just about anyone who's in a sales leadership role. That's our
Yep.
job, is to
Yeah.
grow
Right.
whatever business we're
Simple.
in.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
particularly love that you're working with PE companies. Those are some of our favorite companies, to have it as customers. We partner with private equity, and because we're the same way, we want to help you grow leveraging technology.
Yep.
And so I think we're going to have a lot to talk about today. When you look back over your career, Andy, and I asked you to boil it down to three things that have really driven and led to your success, what are those three things?
So I will start with great leaders. So I think the people who I have worked for and worked with, but a lot worked for, who have kind of just really helped me mold my career, my skill set, challenged me, guided me, developed me. So that's definitely one. Um, I think looking back, Chris, I've had the opportunity to work at a number of different companies in different industries, all in the kind of B2B industrial space. But the thing that never fails to kind of surprise me in some ways, is every time you move to somewhere new and something new, it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
It feels like the sales motion's the same. It feels like the market dynamics are the same, but there's always something different. And that learning and that kind of curiosity to learn, I think, has been great. I think the third thing is just dumb luck, right place, right time, met the right people, been in the right situation, and probably being open, to listen to opportunities and take a couple of risks along the way. Not all of which have worked,
Right.
sadly,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's also, I mean, that's life, that's business, and certainly that's sales. So those are probably the three that I would, I think fairly consistently come back to.
When you were starting your career, did you want to be in sales or did you have a different vision for your life?
Oh God. Well, my mother had a different vision for me. She would have loved me to be a doctor. That was never going to happen. Um, so I joke about this, but it's not completely inaccurate. Sales is like the family business. Um, my grandfather ran a shoe store, sold shoes. My dad was in sales for his whole career. So for my whole childhood and life, uh, I had this guy in my life who was in sales, and I can remember when I was in elementary school and we had the school vacation and there was nobody to look after me. I'd go and do ride-alongs with him. And I'd sit in the car with a bag of chips and a bottle of lemonade while he was going and trying to sell things. So, and then he'd talk about it.
Right.
So, it just, some people, their parents are lawyers and some people, their parents are surgeons.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad was a sales guy. So I think it was just, there was always that thing. And I always, like talking to people. I always like meeting people. So you kind of go down that path. So I think it was a little predetermined, Chris.
Yeah. So thinking about your first sales job, what were some of the key learnings that you had in that role that you still utilize today?
Uh, the I think the biggest thing, and I think I know it now more than I knew it then, and I can probably describe it better now. Well, you can be the judge of that, and your listeners can be the judge of that. Um, the number one, this isn't rocket science. So I think if you show up for your customers, and that might be physically if you're in a field sales role or on the phone if you're inside sales, so it doesn't matter. Just
Yep.
show up for your customers.
Yeah.
And I think with the mindset that my job is to help my customer. And that's first, second, or third. It's not to sell my fill in the blank. It's to help my customer solve a problem, make the most of an opportunity, whatever's relevant. But and I think I feel like I picked that up fairly quickly. And I've really carried that with me. Because I generally, I think if you put the customer first, doesn't mean you always agree, doesn't mean you give them everything that they want. But if you put the customer's needs first, it usually ends reasonably well.
Yeah. I was talking to my dad. He worked in banking his entire career, but
Uh-huh.
they had him take a sales training class very early in his career. So we're talking 60 years ago.
Yeah.
It's basically what you just said.
Yeah.
And so that's where, when you say like selling is not rocket, I know everyone tries to come up with, hey, this is our new sales methodology. But you boil it all
Framework, a
down.
playbook.
Yeah, playbook. You boil it all down to its essence. It's taking care of your customers, showing up, solve problems. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. I just read a book that it's a very simple principle around how to grow and one of the key principles is take the swings,
Yeah.
right? Take the swings, and the more swings you take,
Yeah.
the more success you're going to have, and the more you're going to grow.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is a gross simplification, and it's both of the principle and of the book, by the way. But it's not wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I try to kind of reinforce and share with people as I've been leading teams and now in more kind of advising and consulting and some interim stuff that I do. But it's like if you don't put yourself in the game and in the arena, you're never going to win. So do that more.
Hey, we're taking a quick break to thank you for listening to and supporting the Sales Lead Dog podcast. I want to take a moment and tell you about my book, CRM Shouldn't Suck. If your CRM feels more like a black hole for data
than something that actually helps your team sell, you're not alone. The book breaks down why CRMs fail for so many businesses and what you can do about it. No fluff, just real strategies that work. So go to crmshouldn'tsuck.com to order your free copy right now. That's right, we're giving it away. And while you're there, take 2 minutes to check out the CRM Impact Score. It's a quick diagnostic that shows you how your CRM is really performing, where it's helping you and where it's hurting you. You'll get a personalized report with clear, actionable next steps you can start right away to maximize your CRM investment. We've also got blogs, videos, and a bunch of other resources to help you finally get the results you were promised when you bought your CRM. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes of Sales Lead Dog. Okay, let's get back to this episode of the Sales Lead Dog podcast.
Why do you like working with PE companies? Companies that are owned by private equity or, financed by private equity. What's about them that attracts you?
Well, the necessity to grow. I mean, the whole, the whole basis of, particularly these days, the basis of their investment theses is to grow. So, it's a target-rich environment from my perspective. But what's great is they'll challenge the status quo all day long. So the idea of trying new things is not scary, at least not to the firm. It can be to the portco management until they start to get used to what that environment feels like. The fact that not generally, in fact, always, at least in my experience, data is king. So PE firms, for better or for worse, love data, which I'm all on board with, so long as you don't forget that there's actually a real world out there with people and customers and competitors and all this stuff. So the fact that analysis and data is something that matters and they understand means there's a conversation that I can have that resonates, because I completely agree with that. And certainly not the least important thing. They have money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll invest,
Yeah.
So I mean, I think those are the key things for me, Chris.
Yep. We work with private equity backed firms as well. And for me, people ask me like, why are you focusing on that segment of the market? And I parallel a lot of what you said. I've just learned over the years that, we sell CRM, Salesforce, and Microsoft Dynamics. They're expensive investments, or can be very expensive for businesses, depending on the size. To be able to make or be willing to make that investment or really drive any type of significant change in a business, there has to be some kind of pressure forcing you to do that. Otherwise, people just sit in status quo because that's easy. Like,
why would you do anything differently?
Yeah, like why? Like, hey, no, we're chunking along, we're doing fine. We don't
Yep.
need to change anything. And without that external pressure to change, nothing really is going to happen. People will always revert back to their comfort zone. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, it's easy. The easiest thing is do nothing. Because I mean, we're we're humans, and we like what we know, and it's easy, right? You just keep rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And that's the PE environment is not that. And I think they will push and help and guide and insist and check and do all those things that mean change actually does happen, because you have to make it happen. So Yeah, I mean, and look, not every PE firm is created equal. There are, we won't name names, but there are some that, I think have a much more prescriptive and directive approach than others. My preference is where it's more of a partnership with the
Mhm.
portco. Um, uh, and I've been pretty lucky. The firms I've worked with generally have been in that bucket rather than the other bucket. So yeah, that's kind of how I'd see it.
Yeah. I wish more business leaders would learn from what these companies are doing to drive growth, that it's easy, it is hard work sometimes to truly drive transformation and to do what you have to do to drive dramatic growth. But there's so many benefits that come out of that. There'll be so many benefits for our economy if more leaders were like that.
Yeah.
Why do you think people stay with status quo beyond it's just because it's easy to do that, but there's also, I think there's a big fear element with that as well. When you come into a new company and they know, hey, a whole bunch is going to change, there's usually a lot of fear around that or potential a lot of fear. How do you handle that in your role?
The things I've done, and I think generally works, is honesty is the best policy. So explaining the what and the why. So what are we trying to do? Why are we trying to do it? Um, and what that's going to look like, the how, and being transparent about that with people. I think they appreciate it. I think it helps a team or individuals get on board with what's happening and what's coming. And you give people the opportunity to be like, you know what, I get it, but this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. So I think in general that transparency is really a huge difference maker.
Yeah. I think that's really important just in terms of just being a leader,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
really breaking it down to this is what we're trying to do and this is the why.
yeah.
People need to understand, you need to get buy-in and alignment. And so I think having that level of transparency is very important, especially when you're stepping into a new role, to build trust. What other things do you do to build trust with a new team?
Um, so I mean, I'm a pretty open book, and I try to be an open book, and it's kind of that transparency thing that I just said. So I think that's the thing that I'll always keep coming back to. Um, uh, the other thing that I think is incredibly important is engaging and involving people in the work. So rather than pushing everything like, I'm the boss, so I know everything, so I have the answers. So
Right.
here's what the plan is. Um, Actually having your team part of the solution development just goes a huge way. Um, and there's lots of and I think we talked about my different experiences and things I've learned at different companies and in different industries. Um, uh, I learned so much about kind of problem solving and that kind of continuous improvement, lean thinking in a commercial environment when I was at Granger. That because for them it was like breathing in the supply chain world.
Right.
Um, and it was completely new to me. And this whole idea of root cause analysis and really kind of digging into what's the problem and how do you measure the problem, how do you define the improvement that you're looking to make, and how do you test countermeasures. I've never done that.
Yeah.
So I think as you do those things and you engage people, is huge. The client I'm working with at the moment, one of the processes that we're working on improving is the whole like contract management, contract operations. We have a lot
Yeah.
of contractual relationships with customers.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out how to turn that into more of a growth engine for the business. So just last week we did a Kaizen with the whole of the contract team.
Yeah.
And they came in, they mapped the process, they just went through that whole process as a team. And this was, a group of individual contributors
Yes.
who are not used to this.
Yeah.
And what comes out is remarkable because they know things that the manager of the team doesn't know.
Yeah.
Certainly, I have no idea about. So
Right. Yeah.
fascinating.
We do something very similar with that. Our goal is to eliminate anything that we call an execution barrier, something that's going to stop us from being efficient and getting
Yep.
our job done. And so we do the same thing. We pulled everybody together. Let's start at the beginning of the process. Let's go all the way through with everyone that's involved. And it always makes me chuckle when leaders go, well, this is what we do at this step. But then the people who actually do it are like, actually, no, that's not what we
Actually,
do.
no, it isn't.
Yeah, actually, that's not what we do. We're doing this
Yeah.
now. The
Yeah.
leader has no idea,
Yeah.
and so that's why you can't insulate yourself in your ivory tower. You have to get involved in the details.
Absolutely. Can I give you another example that
Great.
somebody told me that isn't my example, so I'm going to tell somebody else's story.
Yeah.
Um, so, so as you know, every private equity firm, they make an investment, they buy a company, they create the 100-day plan. The 100-day plan has these value creation plans, which, is often a euphemism for where we're going to go find money,
Yep.
which is, by the way, fine and reasonable.
Yep.
One of the firms I know, the approach they take to identify value creation opportunities is
Yeah.
they bring in like 30 to 40 people from across the company
Yeah.
into a process, into a session that has a process and steps behind it.
Yep.
But they've got people from the production line.
Yeah.
It's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah. No, that's part of our methodology that
That's
we
great.
need the frontline people involved.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones doing the work.
Yeah. I know.
One of the other things that we do is tell me about all the spreadsheets you're using to run your business.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, they're everywhere.
Yep.
And I explain every one of those worksheets, those spreadsheets, it's a workaround because your technology is not supporting them the way it should
Yep.
be. But I still have to
Yep.
get my work done. So I'm going to make something myself that I can use to get my work done.
Yeah.
So much hidden costs, so much hidden inefficiencies because people are still getting their work done. A lot of time leadership has no idea. The technology group has no idea about these spreadsheets.
Well,
people,
and
everything's
nobody's
chugging
sold.
along.
We're gonna go. We'll go off track. But I think the interesting thing about that observation, Chris, is
Yeah.
you and I could have had that same conversation 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and we're still having it today.
Oh yeah, 100%.
With the bajillions of dollars that have been invested in technology solutions,
Yeah.
I still do. I still pull data from a system, put it into a spreadsheet, and
massage it to the way I need it so I can find out what I need to find out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it mystifies me that at this age, so many companies are still stuck doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, normally we don't talk about CRM till the end of our conversation because of where we're going and your experience.
Yeah.
Why do you think technology, specifically CRM technology, is so difficult for so many companies?
I think there's lots. I think there's many reasons. I think that the thing I've seen a couple of times is where you put the cart before the horse, so you start with the tool and not the process.
Yeah.
Which I think is, a well-known thing,
Yep.
but continues to be a thing.
Yep.
Or you think you've defined your sales process And you've got 5 stages, and one's called prospect and one calls negotiate, and you go, yeah, this is awesome, we're good.
Yeah.
But then the nuance gets missed. So, things like, what are the exit criteria to move from 1 to 2, and how clear and simple is that for people to understand? So,
Yeah.
I think that whole piece around the process, pressure test the process, ask the people who really do the work and understand.
Yeah.
Even better if you can get some customer input, because hopefully your sales process matches or
Yeah.
aligns with their buying process. So
Yeah.
doing that, so those things. So that's one piece.
Yeah.
I think the fact that there's always I think everybody's dream is that the CRM is the one place that I'm
Yeah.
going to have to go and live, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, I'm an old guy, Chris, and I've never seen that dream come to life anywhere.
No, I've
I
been
just
doing it for
haven't.
20 years,
Yeah.
and I think for 20 years, the large CRM vendors have been, I don't say lying, but I think they are very generous in how they
Aspiration.
describe their
Yeah,
CRMs.
and quite aspirational
Mhm.
about it. But the problem is, what happens, I think, is that dream is created, and then there's an inbuilt disappointment when, wait a
Yeah.
minute, I still have to go and pull reports, or look at reports in Power BI,
Yeah.
or even worse, I have to go and drill through the ERP system to get margin,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think there's like an inherent kind of built-in disappointment.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's just the human factor, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and you know this better than I do. The biggest hurdle to a successful CRM uh, implementation, and most importantly, value creation, is the humans.
Yes.
It's not the tool. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, the tool is the tool.
Yeah.
They're
I talk
all
about that all the
they're,
time.
they're all
I
directionally the same.
yeah,
It's
exactly. There used to be much bigger differences 5 years ago. It's not
yeah,
the case anymore.
yeah,
Um, and I just tell people, look, there are tools that make sense. But so many companies get all wrapped around, oh, we're a such and such company.
yeah,
Why?
right.
And well, that's what I've always used.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not really
Yeah.
a why.
No, no.
That's not benefiting the business. It's just you're telling
Yeah.
me, hey, I'm in my comfort zone and I want to stay in my comfort zone.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I see it all the time where, somebody gets new leadership in and now they're going to migrate to the other platform because, hey, that's what they've used their whole career. And I
That's
need
what
to
they're
have my
doing.
blankie,
Yeah.
to comfort me and make me feel safe. But
Yeah.
you're going to spend a whole bunch of money, waste a whole bunch of people's time on, you're not moving the company forward at all. Now,
No.
a lot of times you legitimately have to do that because the current CRM is just so bad, the implementation is so bad, it makes sense to
Yeah.
start over. But
Yeah.
that's not always the case. And anyway, um,
No.
to me, it's that fundamental, you need to have a strong data layer in the business. It's the foundation of everything. And one of the things we like to ask companies when we're coming to start work, we want to know, what are your strategic goals? What are the things you're doing to move the needle for the business? Nobody's ever told me, hey, we want to have an incredible data platform to grow our business on.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Yeah.
anything related to data in the organization's strategic goals. And I don't understand that because other than people, it's your most valuable asset.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Do you have any ideas like why? Because we all want data. You've made it multiple times, like, hey, I need this to make decisions and blah, blah, blah. But it always seems to
I don't
be
know.
back of the
I,
bench.
I
It's not at the forefront.
well, I think one thing is it's hard.
Yep, it
And
is.
and so whilst clearly you and I are uniquely smart, I think there's a lot of other smart people in the
We're very
world
smart.
who
We're
are
uniquely very smart.
correct. We're just different level smart.
That's right.
But like, we're not the only people that have gone, wait a minute,
Yeah.
if only. So I think it's a known thing.
Yeah.
But it's really, really difficult,
It
and
is
it's
very
really
difficult.
complicated, and there's touches every part of the company. So alignment, I think, is a challenge.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I think ultimately people kind of look at it and go, oh, we'll leave that for the next go around.
Right. Yeah. I remember it's a funny story for me. I did a presentation at a conference on, going beyond the basics for your sales dashboards,
Yeah.
anything around revenue for the sales team. And I just talked about that, that usually for every business, it's my experience, depending on what level of the organization, and you're going to have 3 to 5 KPIs that if I'm monitoring those, I know the health of the business and what, do I need to engage, pull levers, whatever. So focus on identifying what are those 3 to 5 KPIs at each of the levels of the business. And someone came up to me afterwards and said, yeah, you mentioned that every business has these 3 to 5 KPIs, but you didn't mention what they were. What are those 3 to 5? And I'm like, well, it's unique to your business. They're your 3 to 5 KPIs.
Yeah.
And so that's where you need to know your business well enough to be able to say. And so when we do those workshops with teams and stuff, and we'll ask, it's rare for someone to immediately say, oh yeah, here's our numbers. This is what we need to see. We usually have to do a lot of work with them to elicit that information and really, we're talking some high level consulting. It's hard to help them figure that stuff out. How should I be evaluating the business based upon my role? Because again, by level, that's not going to be the same set of numbers that I need.
Everybody's looking from a slightly different direction and a slightly different level.
Yeah.
But it's so important. And I mean, there's this whole, KPIs, leading indicators,
Yes.
looking forward instead of looking backwards. I mean, this is the core of why CRM matters. I think anyway. And I think if you can be successful and solve the simple part and then take the baby steps, I mean, I get so excited if there's opportunity management, people are doing pipeline reviews, like having a real pipeline conversation. Sellers are putting notes in, and I mean, again, none of this is rocket science, but it's so valuable.
Yeah, we had a client that they're in the textiles business. It's a very much a commodity-based business. And it was great. It was fun for me to learn about their business and think, what are their but one of their leading indicators was samples requests. Look at all the, thousands, they have tens of, probably over 10,000 products in their inventory.
Yeah.
But looking at that data of what are people asking for, that was one of their very early leading indicators around the business. Like, where's the business going? What's getting traction? What's not? And looking at those trends, they were able to manage so much based off of that and then building out from there.
There's so many of those things. And it's, I think the really clever part, Chris, is boiling it down to the 3 to 5 that you described when you were on stage, right? Because it's very easy to end up with 53.
Oh yeah.
And then you may as well have none.
Exactly. That's why I tell people, it's like, look, it's too much. Nobody, like, how is that when you have so much, you're just going to be so overwhelmed so fast. You're not going to know where to look.
Yeah.
And that's when you're making things way harder than they need to be.
Yeah.
Now you can drive into those details. So I've started with my 3 to 5 and hey, I've got a question about this one. I might need 3 more numbers to back up the research on that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's all about how you build this and building a data framework that's going to support your business. And to me, it's critical. So how do you go about that when you're coming into a role and you have a client, a new company you're working with that really doesn't have that data framework yet? They haven't quite figured that out. What's your approach to tackle that problem?
So the way I've kind of gone about this. And oftentimes, and again, I come back to what you said there, it's definitely situational in terms of what are the right KPIs, but there are themes, and particularly when, like me, you're playing in very similar, like go-to-market models, sales motions, and businesses. There are some like thematic things that will show up 80% of the time. So I will often start with like, here's a here's a dashboard that probably is directionally going to be helpful.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and I mean, and most companies are doing some of this. Few are doing all of it. And few are doing it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, which is the other thing that I love.
Yeah.
So I'll start there, and then it's like, okay, what can we get? What can we get without having to move mountains?
Yeah.
Because the law of diminishing returns kicks in, where
Yeah.
like it's the effort, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze,
Yes.
right? It's not helpful enough
Yeah.
for the effort it's going to take to get the data. And so most times, I don't think I've been anywhere where it's been like, yeah, we can't get a hold of any of that.
Right.
Sometimes you got to build things, and frankly, sometimes you got to download data, put it into Excel, and do the work there. You just do.
Yeah.
Particularly when you get to one of my favorites, quote conversion, and oftentimes being able to tie a quote to a subsequent PO is a thing, is a challenge. So you have to get pretty creative sometimes
Yes.
because, customers do annoying things like place an order but don't tell you the quote number.
Right.
I mean, these customers, they're so annoying. So like, how do you solve for things like that? But there's ways around it. And the other thing I would say is, whenever I see a dashboard that has numbers to like 2 or 3 or 4 decimal places, I'm like, yeah, I don't believe any of it now.
Right.
Because it's like, no way.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
What's
Just give
that
me a
gonna
whole
tell you?
number.
Yeah.
A whole number in a red or green is good enough for this guy. That's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the key is get started.
Yeah.
Figure out what you can get quickly. That's the
Yeah.
other thing we just preach to people is like, look,
That's a great point.
you're looking for what's the minimal viable data set I can produce within 30
Yep.
days, let's say.
Yeah.
And let's start there.
Yeah.
And you'll learn so much by figuring that out. Then you can look at, okay, well, we want these other parts, we can't get them. So let's start putting a plan together that maybe over the next 3 months to 6 months, what do we need to
Yep.
put in place to start getting those numbers? Now we can get it to the next level. But the key is you have to start. What can we get within 30 days? Let's get that up and running. So now we've got something, a tool that we can begin using right away.
Totally agree.
And then iterate from there. Get into that motion where let's learn from what we've got, and then how do we improve?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the same with almost anything. It's the same with CRM. It's
It
like,
is.
so let's start with something and then let's build. It's
Oh yeah. I know it's crazy how many times we come in to do a rescue where, companies have spent years and a lot of money trying to get CRM built, and they really have nothing to show for it.
Right.
And then we're just like, all right, we're putting a stake in the ground 90 days out from now, and we're going live with whatever we can get done in those 90 days, and then start that on a cycle like that. It changes everything.
Yeah, it does.
Instead of trying to, hey, we're going to take 3 years and try to build this perfect system. Well, your whole business is going to change in those 3 years.
Yes.
It's a moving target. You're dead before you started.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Andy, we're at our time now on Sales Lead Doc. It always goes by so fast for me.
I know.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah,
if people want to reach out and connect with you, if they want to learn more about ShireGrowth Partners, what's the best way for them to do that?
I mean, there's a couple of ways. The website, ShireGrowthPartners.com, or just email me, Andy@ShireGrowthPartners.com. So
awesome. Did you catch that? No worries, because we will have it in our show notes. You can get that at impellercrm.com/sales lead dog, where you'll get not only this episode of Sales Lead Dog, but our 160 plus episodes now. We're cranking them out. So be sure to check that out, subscribe, reach out, connect with Andy. It'd be great. Andy, thank you so much for coming on Sales Lead Dog, and welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Pack.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
As we end this discussion on Sales Lead Dog, be sure to subscribe to catch all our episodes. On social media, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Watch the videos on YouTube, and you can also find our episodes on our website at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. Sales Lead Dog is supported by Impeller CRM, delivering objectively better CRM for business, guaranteed.